So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to preview or review Windows' next operating system, Windows 10. Seems they missed out Windows 9. Personally speaking, I think they should have missed out Windows 8. Now the installation goes pretty much the same way that Windows 8 or Windows 7 did, and eventually you'll come to your desktop. On your desktop you're going to have pretty much nothing there. Bit of a bland background picture there with looks like cracks. Your taskbar, it's pretty much the same as other Windows. Windows 8 type logo on there instead of Windows 7, and you have the addition of the App Store icon that they're trying to push at us. Now, since there's no icons on there, what we're going to do is we're going to add some icons in there in the personalization section. You'll see we have the user accounts now there, which is in this case Commander. I wonder where I got that from. And instead of the My Computer, we have a This PC, which is a little bit on the odd side. I've added control panel there just to show, and I've changed the background picture here, so we're going to see that coming up. System settings or system info, pretty much the same as we got in Windows 7. Shows the processor, amount of memory, and the addition of Windows, in this case Windows Technical Preview 2014. Usual options to change product key, that kind of thing, change computer name. Now if we click onto this PC, we get the regular My Computer type view, which we've all seen before. Just looks pretty much like Windows 7 or Windows 8. And then we have the Start button, which is actually a start menu, and this is quite an improvement over what we've seen now with Windows 8, certainly, because we have a start menu. We also have tiles attached to it instead of the Metro interface. I've not seen the Metro interface at all when I've been using this, but I am using this on a small screen. It's a small netbook that's kind of tweaked quite somewhat, and that's what I'm running it on. So small resolution, perhaps it doesn't show up. Anyway, you've got these tiles here, and in actual fact you can move them around, you can resize them, and you can remove them. You can unpin them from the start menu, which is absolutely great, because we're going to unpin them all one at a time. We had to do it, but here you go, and you can see that it's looking more like the regular start menu. Bit of a strange color scheme there, but hey, we can probably change that. So let's try just clicking and doing a little search. We'll search for Windows Update, because I've just installed this OS, and one of the first things I would do is put the updates in just for security. So we'll have a look for Windows Update, and we'll put some updates in if there are any available. Now, according to this, there are updates there, so we should be able to install those. Apparently they're going to be installed automatically. We'll have a look at what those updates actually are, and we have an update for Windows Defender, which I don't have much faith in. Use something a little better, in my opinion. And we have an update to the Windows Technical Preview. Now, as in past Windows, when there's an update, it just tells you, a KB number, and tells you very little about it. You can click the more info and perhaps get more info, but I want to know what that update actually does. Preferentially, we will let it go, we'll let it update, and we'll allow the Windows Defender one to go into. But in my opinion, they should tell you a little bit more info on what it's actually covering if it's a security update. From Control Panel, we've got options for recovery of the system. You can recover without affecting your files, or you can reinstall Windows cleanly and lose everything. Personally, I'd rather, if I was going to do the second option, I'd rather install myself from an ISO onto a clean drive. You can add features to Windows 10. You want to buy a product key, or if you've already got one. I already have one, but I'm going to try and buy one, and we'll see what we get from that. And it would seem we're not going to get much from that. Now obviously this is a beta, so it's not actually out yet. Online purchase isn't available in your region, or in any region I would assume. But in most places you can go to an electronics shop to buy a product key. Now, what kind of electronics shop would buy a product key? It's obviously English based there. This is the United Kingdom version. Yeah, that's probably because of all these Euro rules, although I have to say I haven't had the browser choice annoying pop-up come up yet, so that's probably a little bit of an improvement, but I've no doubt in the final release, to keep the EU happy, they'll have that in there, just to bug the hell out of you. But yeah, there you go. It's obviously aimed at the UK with shop instead of store. Electronic shops in the UK don't sell product keys for Windows, I'm afraid. Now, the taskbar and start menus, we got the charms stuff there, pointed to the top right corner. On this edition, this doesn't actually work. I don't get the charms up by pointing at the top right corner, so that's a little bit odd. Other options in there, as you can see. In the background there, you're seeing the system, the services that are running currently. They're very much the same as Windows 7 or Windows 8. I was interested in what devices were installed when Windows went onto the machine, and in this particular case, it picked up my printer, which is a network printer, and it did pick that up on the fly. I didn't have to do a damn thing. It was just there. That's the Epson imaging device there. And I'm assuming the printer's there as well. Just realised it'll be there. Pretty sure of that. But it's picked up the scanner on there, which is a network 2, which is awesome. PCI device, unknown device, and COM ports not picked up. But I have to say, this hardware is non-standard, and perhaps in the final edition, it would have picked them up fine anyway. I'll have a look in the driver locations in a bit, see what's in there. Now we have also this option for devices, which is picked up straight away. Again, the printer at the bottom, and it's picked up 2 media devices I have around the house. Pick them up, no problem. Check if we've got the likes of System Restore and the usual options there, and indeed we have. In fact, in all the options here, the advanced, the remote, everything is pretty much the same as it was in Windows 7 and Windows 8. Windows 8 I didn't tend to use much. In fact, I installed it and I removed it after a week because it was just terrible. I noticed a nice little option. As I say, I'm running this on a little netbook. It's a small screen, small resolution, and things don't always show up if the screen size, if the page is meant to be larger. So I noticed this and I thought, hey, can I turn it down to like 80% or something, which will make a massive improvement. Turns out you can't. 100% is the smallest you can increase to 200, 300, 400, and that'll increase everything allegedly on your screen, which is a pretty nice little feature. Instead of just changing the icon size or whatever size, you can change it all. I like that. That could be useful. But I'd like to see it go down to web browser built-in here in Explorer 11. Flash is installed as a separate entity because it shows up in control panel too, and nothing really new there. Works as well as Internet Explorer normally would work. We'll get Firefox thrown on here. In Windows 7 and Windows 8, you could drag windows to the left or the right, and they take up a half size on each, which was great for looking at 2 documents, or perhaps copying and pasting from one document to the other if there was extra, parts you wanted moved across. They've taken a tip from Linux on this one, and they've made it so you can pull them into the corners. Something that's been in Linux for a little while on some desktops. So you can now have 4 if you pull them to the corner like that. It'll resize them automatically for you. Linux still a slight step ahead because you can pull to the bottom or the top and have it horizontal as well as vertical, but hey, it's a step in the right direction. Although on a small screen, probably not quite as useful. As you see on the bottom right that I mentioned before, the drivers, they're stored the same format that they are on Windows 7 and Windows 8. And a few other windows up there. You'll notice I've got Firefox installed because Internet Explorer is a little bit too slow for me personally, and a little bit too buggy. So I'll stick with Firefox. I mentioned this is on a netbook, and if I go to open the Windows apps, like Windows Store or whatever, then I will frequently see this. Windows 10 is being pushed that it can run on devices with small screens or large screens, doesn't matter, or no screen, as their blurb says. However, it doesn't currently work on this screen. So, thought I'd show you that. Shortly after you get that, you usually get an error. It is a beta, so the error you get is the invalid forward reference. It's probably automatically sent a bug report through to Microsoft, so that's fair enough. But, we need this running on all kinds of devices, so... As you see at the top right, we have Calculator, which looks pretty much like it always did. Media Center down at the bottom works fine. And Steps Recorder. I don't know if that was in Windows 8 because I never bothered using it, as I said. Got rid of it after a week. But records steps that you do on the computer and can show them as a slideshow, which would be really useful if I'd spotted that earlier. Maybe I could have used it on here, but didn't like the look of some of it, so maybe in future. Power options have returned. You can switch off your computer without having to mess around, shaking the mouse around, or Alt F4. Or, as I've seen some people suggest, creating a batch file specifically to shut down the computer, which seems a bit of a... it should be built in. You should be able to turn your computer off with these if you really wanted to. And sometimes some people switch them off, I mean, this just happens. Right clicking on the start button will bring this up, which I've seen before was a tweak that you could add into Windows 7. In fact, I think maybe even XP too. So that's interesting that we have things there. Nothing really new there, all pretty standard. Control panel was all standard as well. So pretty standard stuff in there, but at least it's there, which is certainly an improvement on Windows 8. Charms menus, as you can see, very much like Windows 8. Quite a neat look in actual fact. Search, share, start, devices, settings, and a nice little clock there in case you forget what day it is. Click on the settings, shows up pretty much the same way Windows 8 did, and the options in there show up pretty much how I've already shown you. PC info brings up the system info we already had. Personalization you've seen. Control panel comes up exactly the same way control panel does. There we have it. Search menu there gives you the option of searching everywhere, just the settings, just the files, web images or web videos, which I guess is an improvement on the way the Windows 8 search worked. Still could be better there, but I guess the search everywhere functions, so that's the important thing. That pretty much wraps up our short review on Windows 10. Certainly improvement, vast improvement on Windows 8.